In this video, I will tell you about adding tolerances and dual dimensioning in the AutoCAD drawing. So I'll start with this drawing and I'll add a simple dimension. For that, I'll go to this Annotate tab and I'll select the linear dimension. Now click on the first and the second point, and here we have it. Now in this case, we have this dimension which is simply the base dimension or the dimension without any tolerance value. So this is theoretically exact value, which is not always the case. Almost every drawing has dimensions which are accompanied with tolerances. Now in order to add tolerance in this dimensioning, you need to modify its dimension style. So once again, I'll erase this dimension style and I'll go to the dimension style manager. So I'll click on this drop down, select manage dimension styles, select the dimension style which I want to modify, in this case ISO 25, and select modify. Now we are in this dimension style manager. Now here we have an option of tolerances in this tab. So select this tolerances tab, and in this case you'll notice that the method has been selected as none. So change this to any other value. In this case I'll select it to symmetrical, and here you'll see the difference. So when you change it to symmetrical, you will be able to apply a upper and lower limit. Both of them will be same, and you can control the precision value of the tolerances also. So in this case the precision has been set to 2 decimal places. I'll keep it at 2, and here we have the upper value. So if you change the upper value, the lower value will change equally. You can even change it to some other value, for example deviation. In this case upper value and lower value can be different, or you can change it to limits. In this case, the upper dimension value and the lower dimension value will be mentioned. And we have the last one, basic dimension, in which case we don't have any of these tolerances, and this is the theoretically accurate dimension which is enclosed in this rectangle. So I'll change it to deviation, and precision will be 2 decimal places, and now I'll change the upper value to 0.02 and the lower value to 0.03, and now I'll click on OK and close it. And now let's make a new dimension once again. So I'll click on the first point, second point, and here we have it. Now in this case we have the upper value and the lower value for our dimensioning. Now if you add more dimensions here, all of these dimensions will have the same value, the upper and lower value. Even when you add a radius to this drawing, it will have the same value. But it's not mandatory. You can change these values selectively even when the tolerances are applied directly to the dimension style. To change these values selectively, select the dimension which you want to modify, then right click and select properties. Now scroll down, and here in the end you'll see this tolerances panel. Now from this tolerances panel, hover over to this tolerance limit row, and here you'll see that the lower limit has been set to 0.03 and the upper limit to 0.02. Let's change this value. So I'll change the upper limit to 0.01 and I'll change the lower limit to 0.05. Press enter, and now you'll notice that the values will be changed here also. In a similar way, you can select as many dimensions as possible, and then you can modify their combined properties if required. So let's once again move back to the dimension style, and I'll remove these tolerances. We don't need it as of now, so I'll change it to none. Now let's go to this alternate units. Now using this alternate units tab, you can add the alternate or the secondary unit to your dimension. So currently all of our drawing is mentioned in millimeters, but if you want to have an inch dimension also added in this drawing, then you can do that using this alternate units. So when you go to the alternate unit tabs, you'll notice that all of these options will be inactive. To make them active, click on this checkbox, and that will make all of these options active, and it will also add an alternate unit. Now in this case the unit format has been set to decimal, so you can change any other format if you want. So I'll keep it at decimal, and I'll change the precision to 2 decimal places, and here we have the multiplier, which is quite important. Now in this case the multiplier has been set to 0.0393700 and a long string of characters. Now this multiplier will decide the value of this alternate unit. In this case 1 millimeter is equal to 0.0393700 inches. So whatever value mentioned on the drawing when multiplied with this value will result in inches. So that's the multiplier for alternate units. So in this case, I'll keep this value unchanged, but if you want to add your own multiplier value for your dimension, you can add it here. Now, the placement of this secondary or alternate unit is right after the primary value. In most of the cases, drafters prefer to keep it below the primary value. So above the dimension line, we have the primary dimension, and then below the dimension line, we have the secondary or the alternate dimension unit. So I'll keep this option below primary value and I'll click on OK and close it. And now you'll notice that we have the mm value above the dimension line and the inches value below the dimension line for all of these dimensions. And in this way, we can add the alternate or the secondary dimensioning unit to our drawing. And obviously, the secondary unit will be decided by the multiplier. In this case, the secondary unit is inches, because the multiplier was set accordingly as 0.0393 and a long string of characters, obviously. So that is the approximate value which needed to be multiplied with mm to have results in inches. So that was all about adding tolerances and dual dimensioning in AutoCAD drawings.